Welcome back to Get to Know You.
Get to know you, get to know yourself through Hashem and Hashem through yourself.
We're moving along. Join us for the journey.
That's
Thanks
right.
to everyone that's been here so far. If you haven't, now's the perfect time to join.
And make sure you follow us and like us and all of
On
those.
Instagram, GTKY Pod. We'll post links and stuff. Get involved, guys.
That's right. GTKY Pod.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's complicated
Does
there.
that stand for something?
Get to know you.
Oh, my bad. Okay, that one doesn't have to go in.
No, that one's definitely
Okay.
going in. But this is our journey, and guys, please feel free to join us, share with us. We want this to be an enhanced experience with everyone.
That's right. Interactive.
Yeah.
So I was thinking about, we were talking about topics, and the topic that we came up with was to talk about cell phones and how do cell phones affect that relationship with yourself and with Hashem. So I think it'd be cool to kind of talk about that and get into that.
I think so too. Phones is obviously a huge part of today's world. So like you said, we're going to talk about how our phone enhances our own relationship, how it enhances our relationships with Hashem. And then we're even going to talk about how we're the most connected, but the least connected at the same time. But before we get into that, we want to introduce a segment where you guys get to know us a little bit better. So we're going to have like a question or some little game that we're going to incorporate, and you're going to get to know us. So for today, we have a good question that we just discussed. And if God was writing a book about your life, what would be the name of your book?
That's such a good question. This question is for all of you also.
Please.
Write in, think about it. There's a lot of depth to it.
What would God make the title of your book?
Yeah. Do you want to answer it first?
I'll start with it.
Okay.
So to get my title, I wrote a little like summary of my life, of like what I like, what I have, maybe what I struggle with. And what I came up with of the summary is that you can have it, but can you reach it? That's the title of my book.
You.
Because to sum it up, I feel like that I have so many blessings in my life. I have so many people and good traits that I have to work with. And there's so many things that I want. But there's a lot of things that get in the way of what I want, whether that's values, personal challenges, surroundings. But what I've learned is that within moderation, within finding the right balance, I can find what I want. And usually, like when I find that right balance, it's a sweet spot. So the answer is I can have it, but can I get there? And I think that's for a lot of things. That's for going to the gym and getting in shape, finding love, doing well in school, learning. It's like I can have it. Like I feel like dreaming, my dreams, my work. Like I really feel like I can have what I want. I just have to find the way to get there.
That's a great title.
So you can have it, but can you reach it?
It's really good.
And I can reach it.
Yes, you can.
Let's go.
You can get there. For my title, I mean, I'm just sitting here like reflecting now. Your title is it's a very nice title. I feel like mine is more, I don't know why. I feel like it's almost like a little more ego-y. But okay, I'll say it anyways, because my title is like my name.
Mine's fairly egotistical.
Okay,
you can have it.
I guess so. My title is Rabbi Dr. Yosef Topak, Rabbi Dr. Father Husband Camp Counselor. Who was he really? It's a very long title.
That's okay.
It'd have to be shortened. But yeah, that's really, when we were talking about this earlier, it reminded me of something from this past summer. I was asked to speak in camp for a Shabbos, and leading up to it, I was getting more and more like nervous. And, before I speak anytime publicly, whatever it is, I always get like a little butterflies in my tummy. But over the years, I've become a lot more like, okay, it'll be fine. I'm prepared. I know what to say. And I'm not as nervous. But for some reason, I was getting so nervous. And looking back and reflecting why, and I shared this at the beginning of the speech I gave, it's because I've been asked to speak before as a psychologist. Here's a topic in mental health. Can you present or speak about this topic? Sure. And I do my research and I have my outline. Great, let's go. I've been asked to give Divrei Torah places. Okay, what's the parsha? What's going on in the world? Great, prepare, outline, go. In camp, they were asking me more to just speak. And in camp, I'm known as Yoto. So it's the first time ever that I feel like I was asked to speak from me. Kind of like this book title, like who was I?
Right.
Like you weren't asking me to speak as a psychologist. You're not asking me to speak as a rabbi. You're asking me to speak as me.
That means they see the value in you, though.
Baruch Hashem. But still, it got me thinking about the question, like, and that's where the nerves came from. Like, wow, I need to speak from,
Who am I?
right. And Baruch Hashem, it was great, and I had what to say, and I came up with stuff. But
Do you feel like it was different than speaking as a rabbi or a
oh
psychologist?
God, there's no question.
Wow.
It was so much more connected, so much
To
more
what?
just to the topic and to me.
So it's
Like,
more
it
real,
was
you feel like?
yeah, it was speaking about my experiences and about my
Because you didn't have
who
an
I am.
agenda.
Right.
That's cool. Wow. Big stuff. So those are our titles. What was your title
Yeah.
again? Oh, Rabbi Yosef Topek, Rabbi
Colon.
Doctor, colon. Don't forget the colon.
Yosef Topek, colon, rabbi, doctor, husband, father, camp counselor. Maybe we could take out. Okay, whatever. We'll have to tweak it.
Who was he?
Right. Who
Right.
is he really?
All right, before we start,
Whatever.
let me just make sure we're rolling. Oh, man, bro. No, I'm kidding. All right.
Okay, so
We'll introduce our topic now.
actually this connects to the topic because we were just talking about like being present and that speech I gave, and I was more happens to be it was on Shabbos, so there were no phones, which was great. But why this topic now? Like it's
Of
a
the
very
phones. We're connecting
right,
back to the
sorry.
phones.
Back to the phones. It's a very popular thing to talk about. Like
Right.
cell phones, they're so damaging, they're so bad. We had this speech in yeshiva on Sunday. This guy came, and I think you were there in Ashrenu.
Straight away.
And he was a guy who used to work at Google, and his job was to
Make us hooked.
there you go.
Make us hooked. He was hired by companies to literally just get people invested.
Right.
Not money invested, emotionally, timely invested.
Right.
Like,
It was actually quite scary. But
very scary.
through that, after that, Yeshiva decided that on Tuesday is the Teal Day, and I joined them for the Teal this week. It was very moving. We went down south, saw a lot of the scenes from October 7th.
It was by the Gaza border for
by
the people.
Gaza border.
Yeah.
Whatever. We could go into that forever and talk about it and talk about the different things that we saw and the experiences.
But we're going to talk about the phones. The yeshiva decided to not do phones on the trip.
Correct. The yeshiva decided to do a detox day for all the Talmidim and all the staff that went. So we get on the bus, and the Menahel comes around with this lockbox, and everybody puts their phone into a slip with a number, and that was it for the day. No phones. Disconnect, detox.
Disconnect to reconnect.
There it is.
And
Be present.
After high school shout out, they actually we had a day that was like disconnect to reconnect.
Really?
Not everyone followed, but it's a good idea. It's like Shabbos basically.
Interesting you say that. So my Rav was speaking, and he said, some of the guys said like, why do I need this? I disconnect, I have Shabbos for my detox. And he felt that Shabbos is so different because Shabbos, not for everybody. A lot of people still do struggle with their cell phones on Shabbos, but for somebody that doesn't, Shabbos isn't really a detox, because a detox is more like I can have it, but I'm choosing not to.
Right.
Shabbos is not really
It's a whole
choice.
different. It's a whole different setup.
Right. It's done. Like it doesn't. It's.
No, I hear that.
Yeah.
Last Shabbos, I was with Yeshiva on the Shabbaton, and a Rav in the place we were at spoke to us, and he said that when people say like that the phone is their biggest struggle of Shabbos, he said it's not true. Your biggest struggle is of Shabbos, not your phone. You have a phone problem, and you just realize it once a week.
That's so good.
You get a little perspective there.
That's really true. It's really true. Anyway, so that's what kind of, that's what triggered this topic is, the experience that I had and the experience that others had. And a lot of people shared their experience of it afterwards, a day later. And it was just really cool to hear the experiences. Before we get into I'll just share with you an experience that I had. I want to say it was like 6 or 7 years ago. And I took 2 of my kids to the park. They were younger then, and they were playing in the park.
You just told me this.
And I was like connected and just connected with them, there with them, present with them. And I went home and I was feeling like this was such a great park day. Like I take my kids to the park all the time. Why was this day? And I realized it's because my phone was broken and I didn't have my phone that day.
You were present.
And I was present, and the same thing happened Tuesday. It was just a day of be in the moment. Right.
Yeah, our phones really do pull us away. They pull us to a different world.
Yeah.
So it's on us to, I think there's a lot of good to engage in on the phones. We're going to get into that, but we gotta be in each world, fully present when we can be, and also be in the right places, direct our energy to the right places in both worlds. So with that said, let's jump into it. So question 1 is, it's Very broad question. We'll get into it. How do you think a phone, your phone, enhances or affects your relationship with yourself? How do you think your phone affects your relationship with yourself?
It's a great question, like always. Everybody should feel free to write in your own answers.
Yeah, guys at home, I want you to think like how does your phone affect your relationship with yourself?
Right. So I'll just answer quickly, and then I want to hear what you have, your thoughts. My first gut reaction is it very negatively impacts my relationship with myself. Yes, I'm sure there's going to be positive, and like you said, we'll talk about that. But like the first thing is like, yeah, badly,
Why?
because it takes me out of the world of being present. And how could that enhance anything?
I hear well, it's offering you a different world that you could be present in.
But not a real world.
I hear that. So do you think it's like a time issue? Like it's too much time not in the real world, or you just feel like in general like your head is just not in the real world, or not in the same way?
What do you mean by a time issue? Like too much time on the
Quantity,
phone?
yeah.
It's definitely too much time on the phone.
Yeah, I'll put it out there. My screen time is like around 8 hours a day, and it feels like nothing. That's the scariest part about it. It became like so natural. Like it's like phone second nature.
I will not check my screen time. Guys were checking it after this speech, and I
Right.
was like too scared. I'm like, I'm not checking it.
Wow.
I don't want to know. I think it'll crush me. I don't know. Maybe not.
It is scary, scary to know.
Yeah.
Once you know information, you have to start changing yourselves.
Right.
So
It was interesting when he spoke about like checking your screen time, how they built that in
Right.
so that you'll think like, oh, I can use my
I
phone.
have a safety net.
I have a
That's
safety
what he
net.
said.
That's what he said. That
Yeah.
was really
Yeah, just to explain on that, he was saying that because you could like put on filters and check your time, it's like, oh, I'm good. Like this can't get out of control, but
right. I'm okay.
it can. It's scary. Like I used to scroll on TikTok a lot, and I remember after like an hour and a half of scrolling, I saw a video from TikTok's page that said, "It's time to go to sleep. Like the videos will be here tomorrow." And I'm like, they know that this is so bad that they put that video on my feed.
Whoa.
The problem is that I just scrolled for an hour and a half before that came, and I could just ignore it and keep going. Like it's a little bit of help in a pool of like just being lost. I don't like in general that when things are designed to like be addicting. All addiction is probably bad. Would you agree with that?
Too much of anything, yes.
Right. And the thing is that the people that are like on top of the world, like I think a lot of our leaders like are too in it for themselves. These people creating these platforms, like this guy said on Sunday, like they knew what they were doing is bad. They're using psychology against us. Like it's so sad that like everyone's in it for themselves, for the business, for the money, for the power. Money and power. You've been controlling the world for forever. Like if the people on top who had the personalities to get there would just channel that to caring about people, like imagine like the beautiful world we'd have.
It's true. It'd be pretty amazing. But thinking more, there are positive things about it. I mean, there's no question.
100%. So why don't you speak about some of the positives of your relationship with your phone, and then I'll speak about mine.
Well, for starters, this podcast.
Get to know you.
Like, yeah, if you're watching this, you're in good shape. No, but I think that the ability to, besides all the ways to connect to God, which right now we're focusing on the self.
Yeah.
But even focusing on yourself, even if you have questions, if you want to do, some research into yourself, into feelings you're having, emotions that are coming up, you can look for stuff, and it can be very helpful, whether it's the internet or certain apps that help you.
For sure.
Relaxation apps or, meditation apps. A lot of these things are quite helpful.
Yeah, I agree. I think even the quote unquote garbage on your phone, like the wasting time in moderation is okay. Sometimes
Correct.
It's okay to escape and just let your brain
Right.
just take for a little bit and just.
So when I was thinking about like that exact thing, I was thinking about like, what's a negative? A negative is like escaping from reality.
Right.
Then I was thinking like, sometimes somebody experiences a real trauma and they need to escape for a bit.
Right.
And that's okay. And
Agreed.
that's something that our phone gives us.
I agree,
but moderation is.
I think sadly the way that we do it is wrong, because yeah, we should escape reality sometimes, but we visit reality sometimes. We escape the virtual world sometimes.
That is true.
And
it's
scary.
Wow, it's a great way to look at it. It's
the
opposite of what we're meant to be doing.
Exactly. It gets out of proportion. So I want to say about my relationship with phones. So I think overall, I'm a big phone guy, technology guy, but I think it's negative too. Like for myself, like When it's in my pocket, like I'm always feeling, I'm always looking to check. Like it's so ridiculous the amount of like things I'll just waste time on. Like I said, I really feel like it pulls me away. Like when it gets to Shabbos, like I feel so relaxed. I could just go to sleep and like even take 30 minutes to fall asleep because I would never choose to do that because I always want to watch something and I really enjoy that. But like it's space. It's like I feel like it ruins my dopamine, my thinking process. Like between AI, between social media, like it's just so much about other people and like so much emptiness and I feel like that those parts of myself like shine more. I don't want to say shine 'cause it's not shining, but are shown more like through the more I'm on my phone and like it's hard to like be a certain way on my phone and then be off my phone and be a whole completely different way. Same thing, like I feel like if I'm better in the world, then like when I'm on my phone, I'm better also. I feel like they're very, very connected.
Yeah.
So I do. I feel like it really. I feel like it takes away from me. At the same time, it gives me a lot. Like there's a lot of opportunities to learn. There's a lot of ways to connect to people. I think it's huge being able to talk to people.
Yeah.
Also, we get into like little things, not little things, huge things like like GPS maps. Here's the thing: we would never go back to a world without phones. Like if you ask everyone, no, of course I need my phone. It's essential.
I love that word need.
I hear it, but
Anyway.
but we do need it. Our lives depend on it. But yeah.
How do people do without it though? Because there are people.
So I was gonna say, if you go to the old generation, and even though they understand like what the phones could do, if you ask them, do you wish you grew up with it? I think they tell you it could have helped with a lot of things, but we were better off without it.
Gosh, so much.
But we're so reliant on it now that we could never. I wouldn't do that. I would never go back to go without it. I need it for all these little things that I do, big things I do, everything. But I think there's oh my god, I remember seeing this video on TikTok. It was like 1990 something, like last day of school vibes, and like it was like not the best quality camera, but like they added like some emotion to it, and everyone was just like in the hallway, like walking around and like hugging each other, laughing, whatever, and like everyone in the comments was going crazy because it's like in your hallway now, it's like everyone's on their phones. It's like it's so different. Like it felt so pure. It felt real, and I think that's what for myself, what I feel like I lose out on a little bit. I get with moderation, it could be great because then I could feel that connected, that use that for my life. But it needs to be controlled for sure.
Yeah, I would love if I had a chance to go back. If I had a chance to like snap my fingers and the world would go back to what it was like in the 90s, I would take it in a heartbeat.
Really?
I wouldn't even
Wow.
think about it for a moment. To never have been introduced to it though. I think to know it's here and then go off.
Exactly.
But to never have been introduced and to be like, I think I'm a lot older than Eitan, I know, right? But I think to have experienced the world like that is what makes the difference between our two outlooks.
Well, you've been in both worlds. Like,
right.
Why don't you talk about some of the differences that you've experienced?
I mean, it was just pureness. Like everything was so much more about just connecting to everything.
Right.
Going outside and being on your bike. And I was talking to my wife last night, like when our youngest, who's 20 now, like I said, what did we do with her when she was like 2, 3, 4 years old? And my wife was like, I used to just play with her all the time. And I said, yeah, I remember like we had that stereo. She's like, that's right. You made me keep that big boom box. And we used to play music. There was always music in the house.
Right.
Always. And dancing and talking and laughing. And I miss it. I really do.
I guess it put us in situations to like be forced to connect, because what else are you gonna do?
Yeah.
It's like the outlet was to read, and like which we consider a healthy outlet because it's more like stimulating and I guess just good for us. But yeah, like a kid, even when I was younger, like I would always like go outside and just play with our neighbors. And then like now, like these kids are on it's so sad on social media. Like
so sad. They talk about how on Sunday he talked about how what are their names? Mark Zuckerberg.
Yeah.
And whoever else, how they will not give their kids technology.
Right.
And it's like, you have destroyed us, but you're safeguarding because you know.
Exactly. And that goes back to what I said before. These people spend their lives making sure we're on it so they can have their good lives. But you guys suffer so I can live life a way that I know is better.
It's horrible.
Like, let me just, like, what's the word? Hey, like hypnotize all of you guys.
Yeah. But I feel like we're focusing on all this negative. I mean,
There's positive for
There is
sure.
positive. I think it's just that, I guess for me personally, it's very painful. So maybe that's why I'm so focused on the negatives of it.
Right.
But there's so many people I connect with that I wouldn't otherwise.
100%.
Like these WhatsApp groups, and I have a WhatsApp chat of my senior class of '97. I graduated high
It is
school,
cool.
and we can share things, and we never
This
would have
this is
done
why
that.
I wouldn't go back on it. This is why I would say like it's about us focusing on using it the right ways.
Right.
But I think it's not fair to put it just all on us. I think the people on top have to be helping us.
Yeah.
And then like we don't have to be working against what they're trying to do. We can be working with what they're trying to do.
Yeah.
Like humanity, we're battling too much. It's a problem, physically, mentally, everything.
It's hard. It's a lot.
Yeah.
Do you know what getting a letter in the mail is like? That was really, really exciting.
Yeah.
Like really exciting to get a letter. Like my grandmother used to write us, and she would put in like a dollar bill and a piece of bazooka and a letter. And it was like we would look so forward to getting these letters.
Now it's a picture of bazooka.
Right, now it's a picture of bazooka on your phone, like a WhatsApp message.
I feel like the biggest conspiracy, maybe it was true that like in the bazooka, remember you got like those numbers?
Yeah.
Everyone always said if you got 1 or 100, you got a free bazooka for life.
Oh, a free trip to Israel is what I always heard. You heard free bazooka.
Do you get anything?
No.
I feel like I won 100 a few times, and like I happened to lose that one.
Mine was only one. I mean, that's what I had always heard. And I would always look for the number one. I could never understand it. Like
whoever started that, he made it there in life.
And he started it without WhatsApp, without social media.
Well, maybe maybe on the DL, like that's the down low for anyone who doesn't know, for the oldies. That did you know that?
Yes.
Okay, my bad. You're a cool guy. Remember?
That's right.
Maybe this guy was hired to do marketing for them, and this was his strategy, like to start this crazy rumor.
Buy a lot of bazooka because you could
get a free trip to Israel and bazooka for life. Who doesn't want that?
Let us know if you've ever heard that,
or if you ever got the number one.
And also, I'm gonna look it up later.
Jeez.
And see.
Look, another positive we can do with phones.
There's a lot of positives.
Access to information.
I mean, oh, totally. And even we want to switch into Hashem. Even the Torah that we can access, like it's.
Let's talk about that. Let's talk about the positives. We're gonna talk about how our phones impact our relationship with Hashem. So let's start with the positives. You just mentioned the Torah.
Right. So the Torah that you can access is just, forget it. Not to mention all the shiurim that are online, the Torah-oriented podcasts. Get to know you.
Let's go.
Just everything is right at your fingertips.
Right.
Safari, all the different databases that have, unlimited amounts of Torah. The ability to, you want to even get more, the ability to order Svarim, the ability to ask Shilas, it's all so much more accessible.
I agree, and that's beautiful, and these sites are used, but I'm going to ask a little bit of a harsh, honest question here. For the Jews only, how much of their phone time is spent on these Torah applications?
Probably not the majority.
Single digits percent, not even percent of the Jews, like even the Jews that do, like what percent of their time are they spending on it? And it's good. These sites are great. Like I use some of them, but the problem is that there's so many other distractions.
Correct. And I'm going to say even more that might be a bit controversial is that when you do access these Torah shiurim, at what level are you engaging?
Right. There's always another text. You can always just go to something else.
Is it the same that you're driving, you're walking, you're listening to it? You're not sitting in the base matters. You're not sitting in face to face with someone. It's a different experience.
So we spoke about some of the positives, some of the negatives. What do you say that your phone enhances or hurts, or both, your relationship with Hashem?
I think I would say that my phone, I'm like scared to say, but I think it might enhance my relationship with Hashem. Why am I scared to say that? I don't know. I think it's just because the different things that I hear, the shiurim I hear, and yes, I might be not as connected, but I wouldn't hear as many.
Right.
And the different, quotes or the different chizuk that I take out of hearing something.
It's awesome.
And that's a very big.
So you're in touch with the good parts about it. So here's what I think. I think that the phone gives, like you said, like this opportunity to connect with Hashem at a higher level. But there's all these other challenges that come with that. And this is how society has moved. Maybe we could talk about this, is that like the phones come into play now with AI. Like it just makes a new normal where there's a lot of good and a lot more bad. Like, is that a good way that we should be moving? I feel like that's life. Like as we progress, like there's always gonna be more factors. Is more
Right.
factors good? Should we be taking more factors? Did we master the factors before?
Well, I think there's challenges in everything, like you're saying, in every generation, right? They talk about how people say, "Oh my gosh, this is the worst generation. It's so hard," and somebody says, "No, it's not. Like the generation before was just as bad. It was just different challenges."
Right,
Because as we grow, more challenges grow along with it. Different,
right.
but more.
I hear that. So maybe I guess that answers that it is normal the way that we're progressing. So I would say that like we have a whole new playing field. I would say for regarding my relationship with Hashem to my phone, I think overall it enhances it. I think I could, pick up, go to online benching on my phone quickly. I could connect to Shirin. Honestly,
Oh, that's
the main way
good.
for me is I can stay in touch with my rabbis, and that's huge for me because that's where I feel like I stay the most connected. But like, I say this all this with a grain of salt because, like you said, it's like you could be on this year, but how invested are you? Like, even not even that, not even when I'm looking at Torah things, like all the other distractions and bad things that I look at and things that I waste time on, like that comes with the ability of the Torah. So it's like I'm taking both, and I guess it's again my fault for not having that moderation.
Right. And it's yeah. I mean, it's not your fault. It's the fault of
It's both. It's like
Google people.
we can blame them, but
Yeah,
like it's because they screwed up. Now it's on us
it is.
to work with it.
But it's really hard, and it's really easy to be to make like a term for yourself to like make it okay.
Right.
Like, oh, I had such a hard day today. I just need time to disconnect. I need time to unwind.
Thank God for Shabbos, for real.
Yeah, totally. I saw something so funny ish that um what's the problem? Let's say you have okay, how do I word this? Let's say somebody who feels it's okay to watch a Netflix. Not everybody does, and I respect that.
We like Netflix, by the way. Just saying, putting it out there. We're not bricks.
What's the problem with watching a 20-minute episode on Netflix? So they said the problem isn't the 20-minute episode. The problem is the 10 hours that you scrolled finding what to watch on Netflix.
Right.
That's what the problem is.
We don't have the moderation.
Right.
I hear. Actually, I think shows is good. I think TV shows is very healthy, especially a 20-minute episode. A lot of good shows like those, all the sitcoms.
Yeah. I have to say this line. I don't think I've said it on here. It could be I've told you. 2 years ago or three, during COVID, Purim, we were at my wife's family's house, and my nephew comes out of the room, and he says, I did it. I'm ready to make a siyum. And I was like so impressed because I knew he was struggling. And I was like, oh my gosh, beautiful. Like, what are you making a siyum on? And he said, it took me over a year, and I struggled, and so many times I had to push forward, and it got boring, and sometimes it was easier than others. He said, but I'm officially ready to make a siyum on Netflix. I finished the whole thing.
The whole Netflix.
And I just thought it was it was very funny.
That
like
is
the
funny.
way he built it up, and everyone was like,
right.
But I don't think it's possible though.
To finish Netflix, absolutely not.
There's so much.
No, I want to make a challenge for me, for you, for whoever wants to. I want to make a list of like the things on my phone that I want to engage in. It could be Torah, like acquiring knowledge, and even versions of Netflix, being on social media in moderation. I want to make a list of what I want to engage in and see if I can really keep to that. I challenge us all to do that.
It's a great challenge. If somebody were to ask you, I have an option right now of getting a cell phone or getting a smartphone, being connected to social media and technology, and having Netflix, having WhatsApp, or not. What do you think you would advise that person? A generic person.
He's getting a phone?
Who they are. He's debating.
I mean, I would have to know the kid, like see the person, see what he's looking for. But I would say that, okay, even if he wants these things, which I would understand, I would say like limits on everything. I just actually set up a limit for myself. Instagram and TikTok combined like 45 minutes a day now. Like,
but how do you enforce that?
I use a screen time thing. I actually use a safety net.
But then, meaning, what if you want to continue?
I need to put in a password in. I don't have the password.
Oh, wow, there's such things.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that's why we have the tool. So I would say that. I'm like, hey, if you want to do these things, you want to be connected to the world around you, no problem. Do it in moderation. And I would say, like, if you don't think you're going to miss out, like, truth is you're not missing out on that much. You're getting a phone now. What do you feel like you're missing out until now? Maybe a little bit. I would say test the waters, but you have to be honest with yourself. Set up moderation, set up filters. I think filters is very important.
It's a very honest answer.
But honestly, like overall, I'd honestly recommend not to.
Okay.
After everything I just said, like because you know at the end of the day, like it's for the most part garbage. The few good things you see is get lost in everything else you see. One of my rabbis told me this last year actually, like because I try to make videos, you know, get to know you, but it's hard because he's like, how many videos do you watch this week? I'm like, I don't know, 1,000. He's like, how many do you remember? I'm like, 3. I'm like, oh my god, like this is insane. And then like I don't think it's worth those 3 videos. Like, yes, those 3 videos could really help you, but like, what else are you doing? And I say, stay away from it. I say, if you want to use it for the communication, the maps, for the calls, for the staying in touch, great, do that. But everything else is just like a little bit extra. I would say get some entertainment. I would say I think Spotify is okay. Music, I think Netflix is okay with a limit. I'm gonna bring that back to my list. I think if we can make a list and like stick to it of like what we want to be doing on our phones, then we can be present on our phone lives, which I do think is important in moderation, and present in our real lives, which is, as we're clearly saying, is like the most important.
Yeah.
So that's where I would leave it at. That he has to
Okay.
stay away, but if he wants to pick and choose certain things that he thinks align with what he wants to do, and with his desires and his values, then within moderation, go for it.
Okay.
Like I love sports. Like
Yeah.
sports could be a waste of time. Like what do I gain from? Actually, I do feel like I gain sports. Like there's lessons, but it's like the same thing. Like I watch 1,000 minutes of sports, and 5 minutes I learn something. But I think it's okay to be distracted, and it's okay to enjoy these pleasures that today's world has to offer us.
Yeah. I mean, again, within moderation in a kosher way. I hear what you're saying.
Here we go. So let's move to our next question. So we're talking about this, like how the phones could really like keep us connected. You could call people, you could be in WhatsApp groups, you could see all these inspirational videos, you could be connected with people from all over the world and just feel good, feel like you're a part of something. So today's world, in a way, we're the most connected, but there's such a disconnect between us and ourselves, us and Hashem, us and each other. Like, how is something that's making us feel so connected causing us to be disconnected?
Yeah, that's it. I love that. Connecting and disconnecting. Like we connect to disconnect.
And we disconnect to connect.
That's right. That's good. I think that it's just it's the distraction, and is, again, maybe controversial. I don't want people to get upset, but is it really connecting? Is that a real connection?
That's where my mind's at.
Yeah.
So my mind's at, is it really connecting? Maybe on little levels we're really connecting, but I think for the most part, it's such like surface level things that we're seeing, and like emptiness, like garbage, like scroll on social media. Like yes, you can see meaningful videos, but for the most part, it's, I don't know, random memes of people doing something funny just for you to laugh for 10 seconds. And why? I get it. Like it's important to laugh, but like it's not genuine. There's nothing to it.
Right.
It's just about that instant gratification. I want this pleasure right now, and I'm gonna give it to that. And people are, if I'm the one giving you that and everyone likes me, I'm gaining off it. Are you gaining off it? If you watch just my video, maybe, but if you're watching 100 of those, no way. And that's where we're disconnected, because what are we connecting to? We're connecting to surface level things. It's not a real connection. It's deception. I actually wrote about this in a paper.
Nice.
We're connecting to, like, let's say me and you, we like the same video, or I like your comment. I think that me and you have things in common, but we don't. Like we're two completely different people. We just have a small similar interest, but we think because we're so involved in social media that
we're the same.
Exactly, but it's not, and that I think that disconnects us and ruins our level of what we think connection is. I don't think. I think like it takes people hitting the bottom to even notice that we're disconnected.
Yeah, it's definitely. I don't think it's a real connection, and I think a lot of what you just spoke about is, you know, through this connection, it also gives us like this fake sense of community, and a fake sense of what it means to live in the world. Like you could look at somebody's, I don't even know all the like Instagrams and stuff. I'll just use Facebook because that's what whatever.
You're dating yourself.
But like, you know, you could look at Facebook and see a picture of this smiley family, or see a video, and then it's like, well, why can't I be like that?
Oh my God. That's the epitome of social media.
Yeah. It just like brings you down, like bangs you down.
Everyone compares themselves to other people.
Right.
And because people know that they do that, like there's people I know that do this, that like they set up their account in a way to like be perceived as rich or bougie, and they're not like that. And like it's so sad because like we care so much about what other people think that like we're willing to lie, and it leaves all of us just like comparing ourselves to each other, when the thing people always tell you this, like whether it's about body image or family or vacations, like it's not as real as it seems.
Correct.
Like it's a false reality. That's what we said from the beginning. Like,
Yeah.
it's really a false reality. Well, I personally connect to this a lot. I'm studying communications. I have this podcast and other podcasts. I do content, and I would say the main reason I do this is because whether I like it or not, we could argue about it. We could discuss it. This is the reality. People are going to be on these things.
Correct.
So this is a world. It's a whole world, and who's responsible for the world? Us, because it was given to us. And if we're going to be fake and compare ourselves to people and just show people we're not going to be authentic, we're going to have a world that's not authentic. And like I said earlier, if we're not real in that world, we're not going to be authentic in this world too. Like, I think it's on us to make that world a real world, a productive world. So this is why I want to get into this world. I want to give something real. I want to give myself in that world and show that, like, hey guys, like, this is a platform where we can do real things. And I always find when there's like a nice video, like a real video, people are so into it. It's like there's millions of comments and likes, and people are like really connected to it. And the problem is that you can just scroll to the next video.
Right. That's the problem. And I'm sitting here listening to you, and I'm thinking, like, what irony. Like, here I am, like, preaching horrible. I wish I could go back to 1992, and I'm talking to people through a platform, through social media, through, all this stuff. So I do want to say, I want to acknowledge, like, what we're doing.
We're caught up in the trap too.
Right. But like, I don't want to feel like, I don't want to feel like a hypocrite that I'm saying this. Like, if you really believed it, then you wouldn't be doing this show. You wouldn't be. But
let's put it out there. We're talking to ourselves and each other here, 100%.
Right.
And I think the message that we kept getting back to ourselves. Here's what I like to think when it comes to like content, talking to people. This is like the authentic side. That, like, we're gonna say what we believe, and we hope that the people listening take from what we're saying.
Right.
So I think what we're saying is that we are caught in this trap, and the key to finding that balance, like I said from the beginning, the title. Right. You can reach it, but can you have it? I want the social media, I want the phone, but I don't want it to take away from my life. So can we find that balance? Can we find that moderation of that I'm going to use this to help me, to benefit me, not to take away from me?
And a big part of the reality is, if people would really want to go off of it, it would have to be a whole group of people.
That's what he said.
If I'm going to go and put my phone away and get rid of my WhatsApp and this and that, I can't do that.
You wouldn't live. The guy who spoke to us on Sunday, he said that this girl tried that for a year, and she went back to the guy and said, I missed my play practices and missed out on so many things.
Right.
He said, if you're going to do it alone, it's not going to work. We're not even saying, but that's the thing, let's clarify. We're not even saying that everyone should do it.
Correct.
In a way, would that be ideal? Maybe. But
probably.
But I think it would even be more ideal if we just use it for its goods.
Yeah.
Because then we have we have the connection, and we have now a tool. But the problem is that it's not a tool, it's a world. So what I'm going to say is that if it's a world, let's make it a good world.
Right. And that's our job, right? Is to make holy what's not holy, to be Makadesh. Sounds so weird bringing Kedusha to like a smartphone, but
everything can have Kedusha.
I mean,
we're bringing Kedusha to this table. I mean, we happen to be in a shul, so
there's already
it had Kedusha, but if this table is it's experiencing our growth.
Right. I just want to go back to what you were saying before about when people are posting that they're bougie. I love that word, bougie.
Yeah.
And they're really not. And it reminds me of my sister-in-law when my wife's grandfather was sick, or not sick, when he got older. She used to write, I don't remember if it was daily or weekly letters, emails. And she would talk about like the day or the week or the trip they were on. And the sky was blue and the grass was green and everything was great. And I would read these emails and I'd be like, oh my gosh, their family's really living it. It sounds like, wow. And they had just made Aliyah. And I was like, wow, if I live in Israel, will it be like that? Fast forward a few years, this family came to America and we went on a trip to Wisconsin Dells with them. And there was a day on the trip, it was a really hard day. 2 people had to go to the hospital, a dislocated shoulder, someone threw their back out. We got lost. I think there was a car accident. Just, whatever. And then her letter comes out that night and it just is this beautiful, glowing, rosy letter. And I was like, is that what your day is always like? Like, wow, it's not actually, and that's what people do. They describe everything as just being so great. But the reality is everyone has the same struggles.
Right.
Maybe not the same, but everyone is struggling.
Well, this is what we try to work on a lot. Like, we all have struggles. We all have ups and downs. But I find for myself that the 2 keys to living my best life is positive perception and gratitude. And I think they're very connected. but like, I'm gonna say this. You guys probably seen this on social media. You probably haven't, but it's like this like. Actually, maybe it's just a story. You probably do know this. Okay, there's these two guys in the hospital. They're in two sides of the room, and this one guy he's by the window, and this other guy's not by the window. They both can't get up. So the guy that's by the window says to the other guy all the time. He describes what he's seeing. He's like, "Oh, there's this beautiful park outside. There's these kids playing around. The sun is shining. There's ice cream outside." And this guy's like, "Oh my god, like you're warming my heart. This is amazing." And every single day they would do that until as some time went by. Sadly, the guy by the window he passed away. So they moved the guy on the other side to the side with the window, and that's where he was gonna live. And this guy was so excited. He's like, "I've been hearing so much about this window. Like, it's time." And he gets to the window, and what does he see? A brick wall. And he says to the doctor, "Where's the park? What happened? Like, I'm so confused. I'm upset." The doctor goes, "That guy was blind."
So unbelievable.
And it's like, oh my god, like that's like way past perception. But it's like, it's like you could, I guess, it's a creativity, but you could see, I guess, what you want to see.
Beauty is in the eyes of the beholder.
Wow,
right?
That's
like,
cool. Let's go. Beauty in the eyes of the beholder.
I mean, it's a beautiful story. That was around before social media. That story,
right?
Years ago.
I want to say now this post is a social media post, but it's similar. But the quote on top is "Life is all perception," and there's two people. It's like two visions, right? They're in a prison, so there's like the bars, and you can see through the bars, and outside. So what one person draws what he sees, and he draws a picture of the park he sees outside, and the other guy, what does he see? His picture is the bars with the park outside.
Wow!
So it's like beauty's in the eyes of the beholder.
Totally. They have these. When I worked in a prison, I used to do group therapy. And I would I have this whole stack of different pictures that you can see in two different ways. You know, there's the one that either looks like an old lady or a witch.
Yeah.
So it's about, and that's the point of that group, is it's all about perception. It's all about how we look at things. It's all about.
Well, at the end of the day, all we have is our perception. Life outside of us is objective. Like, things are happening, things are going. But if we can channel ourselves to have a good perception, take the right mentality of the negatives, have the right perception during the positives, like, we can really live a good life because we could choose how we have so much control over how we live.
Yeah, totally. Yeah,
it's big stuff.
It's all about. That's what it's about.
Perception, beauty's in the eye of the beholder. I love that. All right, let's see. You have some closing remarks.
Okay, yeah. So
let's sum it up.
Okay, so I think we talked about a lot today, right? First of all, for all of you, that first question of what would the title of your book be? Great question. And then just overall, I guess, like, what are your thoughts about technology and cell phones? That's what we talked about.
How does it affect you?
How does it affect you? How does it affect your relationship with Hashem? Positive, negative. There's positives and negatives to everything.
Right.
I feel like I sat more on the fence of like negative.
Right.
And that could be because I was brought up, in the 80s and 90s.
I think also we take the positives for granted.
Yeah.
They're just the normal.
That's definitely true. And maybe, I don't know, be like really honest and raw. Maybe I struggle more than other people with my cell phone use.
Yeah, I don't think you do.
I'm scared to look at my screen time, but I don't know. But it's interesting because we always like joke around about how like I'm always looking at positives. But I don't know, in this area,
it's dangerous.
Yeah, it's really scary for me and sad. It makes me sad when I think about it. That's the real truth.
Yeah, I get it. One thing I meant to say this before is that happens to be on Friday nights. Like, I always get caught in these great conversations, and they go till like 4 a.m. And a lot of times, like, I push myself to stay up because, like, I said this to my friend, like, without Friday night, we don't have these level of the talks. And why is it? We'll have some good talks. I love to talk, but I don't know. At 2 a.m., it's like, all right, let's go to sleep. Let's go on our phones. Let's play some music. Let's play a video game. But like, we really let the talk just flow, and like you could get to so many other places. Another challenge I made for myself, I would love for everyone to join, is that when I'm not on my phone, do I have to be holding it? Because subconsciously, people like to argue, but my mind's there.
Oh, there's no question.
Away needs to be away. Like I said, it's about fully being present.
Yeah.
That's what I want to do. I don't want to no longer be on my phone texting while I'm talking to someone. If I'm on my phone, I want to be on my phone. And when I'm not on my phone, I don't want my phone to be around. I'm going to challenge myself to do that.
I've tried very hard to be conscious of it. And if I need a text and someone comes over to me and I say, give me a second, I just want to finish up what I'm doing.
Give the text its attention too.
Yeah. And I want to be able to
acknowledge it.
I want to be able to focus on you.
Amazing.
But for sure, if you have your phone on you, like, oh, leave it in my pocket. When that phone buzzes, I'm pulled away.
Yeah.
Like, oh, it doesn't. Yes, it does. Like, be real.
I think we're just focusing a lot on the negatives just to like bring ourselves and
Yeah.
help with viewers just some awareness and just things to be mindful about as we go on, because this is something serious.
Yeah.
So what else? So we talked about the relationship with Hashem. We talked about how it affected ourselves, like we just mentioned,
Hmm.
and we talked about like guys at home, like are you connected? Are you disconnected?
Right.
Maybe it's both. I think a lot of them is both, but I think we need to like say this. We didn't solve anything, but it's just
Mhm.
really important just to be aware of the effects of things in our lives, because we need to know how we're operating.
Right. I think that's exactly what it's about: awareness, and it's about being real
Right.
and being honest. Again, you don't have to be honest with us. You don't have to be honest with anybody, but at least be
Yourself.
honest with yourself.
It's honestly the hardest thing to do. We spoke about this, reflecting alone versus with other people. Find someone you could like reflect with, so at least you get the thoughts. You could be honest with
Yeah.
yourself. It's painful and it hurts, but that's the way to grow.
And I would say, put your phone away when you're doing this exercise. To be real and be honest and reflective.
Like we said a few weeks ago, reflection is actually last week. Reflecting is the most important thing.
Yeah, it's key.
It brings meaning to our day-to-day lives.
That's right.
Wow, guys, it's been great getting to know us. I guess we don't get to know you guys, but
That's
please
right.
let us get to know you guys.
Yeah, write in, ask us a question, answer our questions, connect.
Let's do. This has been 4 episodes. What do you think about the get to know you so far?
Me, I'm loving it. I mean, we talk about how I might have a hard time sometimes following through with things, but I don't know. I've been in it. Like I'm hooked.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Hopefully the viewers are hooked too, but
I hope
not
so.
but not hooked just for our podcast. Then they go off their
That's
apps.
right. Yeah, yeah. You can only. That's right. Only for this.
You can watch all that episode, get to know you that you want.
That's
Please,
right.
we'll
You can even
tell your
rewatch them if you
parents.
want to.
Right.
What about you? How are you feeling about it?
I feel great about it. I feel in general. I think I've told you this. Like when I preach something, it makes me be more on top of that thing myself, because then I'm hypocritical. It's like
Right.
I need to be doing it because I'm saying it. And I also just said like when I speak, like my mind gets clear. I know what I want more. So I feel like you're always a good person to reflect with, and I love our topics. So I think we've had some great conversations. I told you this once. I'll say this to the audience. After our second episode, I listened to it back, and I was in the episode. Like I knew what we spoke about, but I was now listening as a pure listener, and I learned so much.
Oh wow.
I learned so much, and for the next 3 days, I had like this great clarity of like, oh my God. One thing I want to say about that is like, yesterday I was like upset for a few hours, and later like I worked through it and I was good, and I was really, really like happy. And I was thinking like, okay, like tomorrow I'm gonna carry this energy. And something I had to work through in the past a lot was like containing both sides, containing the good moments and the bad moments. And I thought to myself like, this is so good. Why do I even want to contain it? Like, why should I contain this? Like kind of like boundaries, like we spoke about before.
Yeah.
And I thought about like, I need to contain this because this is good, enjoy it, but just know that like in 3 days you're gonna be in a different place and something else is gonna be going on. And if you don't contain it now, you're gonna crash out. And I don't want to crash out. I got like contain it a little bit. I think it's an okay sacrifice to sacrifice some level of the joy.
Mm-hmm.
It's not even, I'm still enjoying it, but I'm just not letting it go, I guess, too far. I am. I'll say I'm sacrificing some of the joy to keep an overall better picture.
Yeah, that's really good. To be able to stay in moderation and stay.
Bottom line, back to moderation.
Yeah.
Wow. This is what Get to Know You is all about.
Okay, folks.
Lots of
been
love.
real.
Love and fun.
That's right. Love and fun. Love and fun. Very good. Maybe that could be another title.
Love and fun.
But that would be a chapter in the book.